appreciate everybody coming for this important press conference regarding the emergencies facing our city. First, we're going to hear from Mayor Karen Bass. Following that, we'll hear from Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Catherine Barger. After that, we'll hear from County Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Lindsay Horvath. Following that, we'll hear from LA City Fire Chief, Kristen Crowley. Following that, we'll hear from LA County Fire Chief, Anthony Maroney. After that, we'll hear from LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell, then Sheriff Robert Luna, and following that, we'll hear from LADWP General Manager Janice Quinones, as well as Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. The mayor will come back to the podium and open it up for questions. I'll call on questions from the left. And with that, Mayor Bass.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I stand here today with incredible sympathy and concern about the devastation and the tragedy that our city and county are facing. And I definitely want to send my condolences to the families who lost loved ones, to the families and neighborhoods who lost property. This firestorm is the big one in magnitude. Hurricane force winds are usually accompanied by rainstorms, but these are hurricane force winds that are combined with extremely dry drought conditions. To provide context, at 10:20 a.m. yesterday, the Palisades Fire was at 10 acres. 12 minutes later, it was at 200 acres. To those who fled their homes, especially those who have lost your homes, our hearts are breaking for you, and we stand with you. I know the world is looking at images of our city's devastation. I have seen the front lines of the Palisades Fire, and it is staggering. I've been in constant contact with our fire commanders, with county, state, and federal officials. I took the fastest route back, which included being on a military plane, which facilitated our communications. So I was able to be on the phone the entire time of the flight. We are fighting for you and everyone in Los Angeles. Thank you to our first responders who waded into flames, pulled people from cars, and got them to safety no matter how dangerous. And thank you to everyone who heeded our warnings to evacuate. Tonight, more people may get evacuation orders, and if they do, please leave immediately. If you have an evacuation warning, get ready to go. Protect yourself and each other, and support our firefighters on the front lines. Our strategy included preparations and pre-deployment, and it now includes fire crews from around the state and from our federal partners. We are also adapting in real time. These winds continue to blow. So let me be clear. I am making sure that we leave no resource untapped. Firefighters are now on scene from across the state and across the country. I spoke with President Biden today and Governor Newsom earlier today, and they assured me of full federal and state support. As we head into tonight, we are still facing strong and erratic winds. In Palisades and in Sylmar, we are very much in an active firefight. I can report to you that the Woodley fire, however, in the Sepulveda Basin is under control. I can also report that finally air operations have resumed, and that is a big deal, but it is up to the winds as to how long the air support can continue. But these conditions are highly volatile. We've seen a devastating fire in the Pasadena area. Fires have sparked up in Simi Valley and on the LA and Ventura County line. And as our firefighters do battle on the front lines, all of us must be vigilant. So if you receive an evacuation order, please leave immediately. If you receive a warning, get ready. Protect yourself and protect each other. And don't divert firefighters from our strategy. Signals are out and the roads have debris. So stay off the roads unless you are evacuating or have another emergency. Be prepared, food, water, medicine, a bag packed and ready. Again, this is an active situation. And conserve water to the extent that you can. We want to make sure that we are ready if we need more water. But make no mistake, Los Angeles will rebuild stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance of Angelenos, and the spirit of our city. This is a big moment. It is a big moment for all of us to come together, for Angelenos to be united, for Angelenos to be prepared to help each other. This is who we are. LA will rise, and make no mistake, I am confident that we will rebuild. And with that, I would like to introduce LA County Board of Supervisor Chair, Catherine Barger.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank you for your leadership. I know when this first hit, we were in constant contact, so thank you for being a true leader to this great city of Los Angeles. Obviously, as someone who represents the 5th District, we are prone to wildfires, but nothing like what I witnessed today. The Eaton Canyon fire is ripping through a community like I have never seen. It is like a third world country out there. I would ask anyone listening, if you do not need to be in the area and you've been evacuated, please heed the evacuation warning. And if you don't live in the area, please stay away. I was shocked to see people walking around that don't live up there that are just taking a look at what's going on. We have firefighter and first responders that are trying to do their job, and it's important for us to all support them and make sure that we provide space so that they can get it done. The county has lost many facilities. Our parks, our Eaton Canyon Nature Center, our senior center. I'm sure the sheriff will talk about the fact that we almost lost our sheriff's station, but it's been evacuated. We are going to rebuild. And when we met with the governor and the president, the resources and the promises have been made. And it's going to be our job to deliver. And I am confident, given the resiliency of this great county, working with all of our partners, we will rebuild. And to my friends out there that I have talked to today that have lost their homes up in Eaton Canyon, I am a phone call away, and you are not alone. And to those of you that have lost homes, please reach out for help. You are not alone. It's important for us to recognize that these people have lost everything. In many cases, their entire life savings. So as we move forward, we're going to make sure the Department of Mental Health has resources on the ground. But if you need someone to talk to, reach out. Reach out. Love thy neighbor. So with that, I would like to invite Supervisor Lindsay Horvath up, my colleague who represents the 3rd District, the Palisades Fire.
Thank you very much. Earlier today, I visited the Westwood Recreation Center, where I was able to listen, to grieve, and to be with evacuees in this time of crisis, to also thank the volunteers, but most importantly, to let each person know in this time of crisis that they're not alone. To everyone feeling the anguish of this tragedy, the county will be here for you, no matter what, as we recover from these fires. But we're not out of this yet, and we need to continue to follow all guidance from our emergency personnel. I want to thank you for evacuating, for letting our first responders do their job, and for keeping your loved ones safe. Here are the updates from the 3rd District. Since our last press conference, evacuation orders have expanded into Santa Monica to San Vicente, and evacuation warnings now include Montana to Wilshire, Ocean to 11th. Gas shutoffs are affecting more than 15,000 people in Malibu, from Brentwood Country Club to Pepperdine. A boil water advisory is now in effect for LA County Water Works District 29. This is the Sunset Mesa community from Topanga Beach and Coastline Drive on the south to Shore Heights Drive on the north, and from Topanga Canyon Road to Carbon Canyon Road in Malibu, including communities of Big Rock and Carbon Mesa. For more information about water, you can call 800-675-4357. Barry J. Nydorf Juvenile Hall remains in an evacuation warning area. Should the warning become an order, the chief has developed a plan for safe evacuation. Our young people's safety remains my top priority. Today, we also received agreement from the President of the United States to approve a major disaster declaration, which will include individual assistance and public assistance programs. President Biden, we are so grateful. Additionally, our County Department of Mental Health is activated for mental health resources. You can call the helpline at 800-854-7771 for 24/7 support and mental health resources. We know this is a traumatic time. Please ask for help. The county has also invested additional funding into our 211 system to increase capacity. LASA has activated the Augmented Winter Shelter Program to provide shelter to our unhoused community during this time. LA County Assessor Jeffrey Prang has shared property tax installment deferral applications, misfortune calamity damage reassessment applications, and a disaster relief FAQ for property owners affected by the fires. You can go to assessor.lacounty.gov. The Emergency Network LA is coordinating volunteers. To sign up, go to enla.org. In addition, the American Red Cross and LA Food Bank have all set up specific donation websites that you can access at emergency.lacounty.gov. Downed trees and power lines are impacting public transit service, and I want to thank Chair of our Metro Board, Supervisor Janice Hahn, for her speed and waiving Metro fares on today because of station power outages. But please, if you are in a safe place and you don't need to travel, stay put and stay safe. For those evacuating, Uber is providing rides for free up to $40 to get to active shelters. This includes Pasadena Civic Auditorium, Westwood Recreation Center, El Camino Real Charter, Richie Valens Rec Center, and you can use the promo code WILDFIRE25. Tonight, the winds will remain strong, but our resolve is stronger. This emergency will continue. Let's keep each other safe, heed emergency instruction, and pray for the success of our frontline and first responders. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce LA City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley.
Good evening, everyone. As Southern California is continuing to endure some of the most historic fire conditions on record, extreme fire weather driven by strong and erratic winds and low humidity have ignited multiple fires across our region. The LAFD is fully committed to continuously monitoring and adapting to the evolving nature of this weather event and stands ready to respond to any additional incidents that may arise. Now, how did we prepare? We prepared in many, many ways, but I want to focus on two main things. We augmented our staffing levels and strategically pre-deployed our additional resources. In addition, we have recalled off-duty LAFD firefighters to augment our response across the entire city. I'll be providing a brief on a few of the incidents within the city. As we know, the Palisades Fire continues to demand significant local, regional, state, and federal resources. Currently, the fire is over 15,800 acres and is growing, with 1,792 personnel who are currently assigned And as we know, I want to be very, very clear that this incident is very, very dynamic as we speak. The good news, the winds have subsided a bit, enough to allow our fixed wing and rotor wing aircraft to provide critical air support to this fire. Next up is the Hurst fire. The Hurst fire has grown to over 700 acres with 260 personnel assigned to this specific incident. There are evacuation orders in place with multiple structures that are threatened. We continue to focus on fire and life safety. The Woodley incident. It is controlled and approximately has burned 30 acres. I want to clarify a little something before Chief Maroney comes up. The Eaton fire, we are closely monitoring this specific fire. It is in the county, and we are absolutely paying very, very close attention to see how else we can assist. If it does come into the city, we are ready. Now, in addition to the large-scale brush fires, in the past 24 hours, the LEFD has responded to an additional 3,950 911 calls for service within the city. This also includes 10 structure fires. We have treated and transported an extensive number of medical emergencies throughout the city. Now, the LEFD also continues to assess and allocate resources to ensure timely and effective responses across the entire city. As the situation evolves, the LEFD remains steadfast in its mission, working closely with our local, state, and federal partners to mitigate the impacts of this unprecedented fire condition. Also, I want to talk about a few of the challenges and adaptations. Multiple incidents throughout this region. We are going to talk about all of these fires within Southern California. We're utilizing mutual aid partners from across the region, state, and adjoining states, and firefighters are surging into Southern California as we speak. Also, the challenges with water pressure in the Palisades. Standard firefighting adaptations for water. What we do when water is limited. We have the ability to pull water from ponds. We can pull water from pools. We're utilizing as many water tenders that we have, and we're working very, very closely with DWP on this. Next, we will continue to focus. I want to make very, very clear, saving lives first, evacuations, and rescues. We are not out of danger. You can see the active fires that are burning. With strong winds that are going to continue throughout the night, I can tell you and assure you that firefighters and first responders remain focused on protecting lives and property. We urge the public to help us by doing the following. Stay informed through trusted news and official updates. Be prepared to evacuate if you live near wildland areas. Follow all evacuation warnings and orders without delay. We also ask the public to stay off the roadways and away from any of the impacted areas. Now, the LEFD and other partners, we're working so closely together. We are absolutely united in our top priority, and that is saving lives. Ensuring that the safe evacuation and rescue of our residents in harm's way remains our absolute top priority and our focus during this wind-driven fire. Thank you, Mayor Bass, the elected leaders who are here, and for all and every single firefighter, first responder, boots on the ground that are doing the work. Together we can continue to protect our communities and keep everybody safe. Next, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the fire chief from Los Angeles County, which is Anthony Maroney.
So good evening. Thank you for the comprehensive update, Chief Crowley. My name is Anthony Maroney. I'm the County of Los Angeles Fire Chief, and I'm going to give an LA County update in addition to a Region 1 update. For the Eaton fire in Los Angeles County, Altadena, Pasadena, and Sierra Madre, the LA County Fire Department continues to be in unified command with the U.S. Forest Service and the Pasadena and Sierra Madre Fire Departments, in addition to our law enforcement partners. The fire has been mapped this afternoon at 10,600 acres, and it is still growing. We have 0% containment We have over 750 firefighting personnel assigned on the line, and mutual aid resources from out of state, including Arizona, have arrived to assist us with this firefight. Unfortunately, we have 5 reported civilian fatalities, a number of injuries, and over 1,000 structures damaged or destroyed. The cause of the fire is unknown and under active investigation by both the Los Angeles County Fire Department, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and the U.S. Forest Service arson investigators. And the moment we learn the cause of this fire, we will advise the media. We also have a new fire start in the Acton area of Los Angeles County, the Lydia Fire, estimated to be between 80 and 100 acres, 30% contained, and thankfully, forward progress has been stopped. As the Region 1 coordinator, I did request mutual aid from the 5 counties of Los Angeles, Orange County, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo counties yesterday. Additionally, last night, I contacted the State Office of Emergency Services and requested 250 additional engine companies from Northern California, staffed with over 1,000 personnel. At this time, the state of California is exercising their emergency compacts with the western states of Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Oregon, and Washington for additional firefighting resources and personnel to come to Los Angeles County to assist us with this widespread fire emergency. One data point is that we have 60 units responding from Oregon, 45 units responding from Washington, 10 units responding from New Mexico, 15 units responding from Utah, and numerous units responding from Arizona. Currently, the National Weather Service has predicted that this red flag warning will remain in effect for Los Angeles County and much of Ventura County through Friday. Thank you, and I would now like to invite up to the podium Los Angeles Police Chief Jim McDonald.
Thank you very much, Chief. I just want to say a few things and not to repeat what has already been said any more than needs to be stressed, but a sincere thank you to everybody who's out there in the impacted area for your patience and your support, to our first responders and support departments who have been out there from the very beginning doing the very best they can to protect everybody. The word resilience was used, and that's what it's going to be. We're going to be an example of resilience in the very best sense of the word. We're going to bounce back from this, and it's going to be a challenging week ahead, but we're going to be able to get through it by working together. These have been unprecedented conditions, as you've heard over and over again, and the fire has been very unpredictable. That is why the need for vigilance is I can't stress enough how much we've got to pay attention to our neighbors, to our own yards and property, and be able to catch something quickly if we get something sparking off. I think that is critical. This is not over, long from over. Our job primarily is to assist in a support capacity our fire partners with evacuation, with traffic control, and with crime suppression. And on the crime suppression front, you've heard also about the potential for looting, people going in and taking advantage of the worst possible circumstances to be able to enrich themselves. That will not be tolerated at all, and my ask is that everybody stay out of the impacted areas unless you live there, unless you have a real reason to be there. Our officers will be out there. They'll be watching for this, and we're taking this very, very seriously. So I want to thank you again for your work with us, to our media partners, for all that you've been able to do to get the message out there and keep people safe. It's now my honor to introduce Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you all for covering this very important story. So as I stand here before you with my partners around me, please know that I have several hundred LA County deputy sheriffs along with other police officers who are working all the impacted areas out there. They're involved in evacuations. They're involved in traffic control, ingress and egress into the area. They're involved in security, which the chief talked about, and I talked about it earlier. We're up to 3 arrests with looting. That is 100% unacceptable. I'm going to repeat it. If you do not belong in these areas, do not go there. We have additional people that we've brought in just to make sure that people's property are left alone. These people have gone through so much. Don't put them through more than they have to go through. And then we're on humanitarian missions. I have deputies dropping off food, blankets, and other things to people who have either been evacuated or who just need somebody to talk to and, frankly, just give a hug to. Those are the kind of things that we're doing out there. I do want to talk about evacuations. Regarding the Eaton fire, we have over 70,000 of our community members who have been impacted by either evacuation orders and or warnings. The Palisades Fire, approximately 60,000 who have been impacted by evacuation orders or warnings. As I said earlier, we have called in additional resources, not only for what's in front of us, but looking around the corner, what's next. Both fire chiefs have made it very clear we are not out of danger. There's a lot of work to be done. For me, in my other role as mutual aid coordinator, just to give you an example, as we are not only calling in our resources, we check with other departments, both in the county and outside the county. And we've provided Pasadena Police Department with additional resources, one from the Long Beach Police Department in a mutual aid capacity, and from the Orange County Sheriff's Department. So I'd like to thank those two departments. And that's something we do in law enforcement. Santa Monica's asked for help last night, and we also coordinate in helping with that as well. Chief Maroney mentioned it. Unfortunately, we do have 5 fatalities. And we're praying that number doesn't increase, but there's a lot of work to do. And we'll see what happens there. We are up to 3 looting arrests as we speak. And then the last thing I'd like to leave you with again is earlier I spoke about evacuation warnings, evacuation orders, and a lot of road closures that are taking place in both of these locations. I'm not going to go through them all, but I encourage our community members to go to lacounty.gov/emergency, where you will get updates on those orders, warnings, and road closures. And again, I am really proud of our community overall. Sometimes we talk about the looting and people who aren't listening. I'm going to tell you, 99% of the people are listening, and I think that's why hopefully the injuries and fatalities and all those ugly things will stay down. So thank you to our LA County residents for working with us in partnership. And now I'd like to introduce LADWP General Manager, Janice Quiñones.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Janice Quiñones, CEO and Chief Engineer of LADWP. In preparation for the windstorm, LADWP activated its emergency preparation plans and filled all 114 available water reservoirs and storage facilities throughout the city, including the 3 1-million-gallon tanks in the Palisades area. We also fuel all our generators serving our pump stations to ensure water will flow out through the emergency. We're working very closely and side by side with LA Fire Department and CAL FIRE in the command post to manage the water supplies. I want to be very clear that the water continues to flow in the Palisades area through our main system. We haven't had any disruption into the water system, but because the winds were severely limited, the air operations, the number of fire hoses connected to the fire hydrants depleted our tanks in the area, specifically in higher elevations. We immediately implemented our contingency plans to provide water trucks to support our firefighters, and our crews are working on how to refill those tanks during this very moment. Conditions for our crew are very hazardous, so we ask for your patience. We have deployed 19 water tankers to continue to provide water to fire departments on the firefighting efforts. And our engineers continue to look at other options to connect our systems and fill those water tanks faster. We're also asking our customers on the west side to conserve water to make sure that we have water available and ready as the winds and the dry conditions continue. And in the Palisades area, because of the fire conditions, there is a boil water notice in effect for SIC code 90272, and the area north of San Vicente Boulevard and to the south. It's not citywide. Again, it's 90272 SIC code. If you want more information about the boil notices, go to ladwp.com for details. In terms of the power restoration efforts, LADWP has requested mutual assistance from Pacific Gas and Electric, and we're also working very closely with Southern California Edison to support each other while we restore power as quickly and safely as possible. As of 5 p.m. today, we have restored power to over 133,000 customers, and we have about 123 customers still out of power. We have 50 customers that have been out of power for more than 18 hours, and we're prioritizing those outages. Based on our current conditions and for the safety of our crews, if your power is out, you should plan for at least 24 hours before our crews can respond to make repairs. If you see a wire down, call 911 or report that to LADWP. Our number is 1-800-DIAL-DWP. Some areas, specifically those in fire areas, will take longer because we got to get clearance from the fire department to come and make repairs. I want to thank PG&E again, at Southern California Edison, and the Metropolitan Water District for their support in this response. And now I want to introduce LAUSD Superintendent Alberto Carvalho.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for your leadership. I also want to thank the leadership of the city and the county, particularly those who are leading brave men and women as frontline warriors, our first responders, in dealing with this unprecedented set of circumstances. My function here today is to thank those who are collaborating in this community effort. Number one, to thank our workforce who today courageously brought 70% of our student body back to schools. They depend on nutrition, education, and support. But I also want to make an announcement specific to tomorrow. We certainly were hoping that conditions would significantly improve, that winds would subside, that the number of active fires would decrease, not necessarily increase. There would be a degree of stabilization. Unfortunately, despite the heroic efforts of our frontline men and women, that is not the case. Unfortunately, as a result of the unpredictability of high winds, a number of simultaneous fires throughout the community, a number of clouds of smoke, dust have permeated into our communities, making conditions less than desirable and in some instances downright dangerous. Our first priority is to protect the well-being of our workforce and our students. That is exactly what we are duty-bound to do. So after ample consultation with leaders, after clear examination of the data available, and entering a second night of this crisis, it is prudent to announce that all schools across Los Angeles Unified will be closed tomorrow, effective immediately. That applies not only to K-12 centers, applies to early education centers, career and technical centers, as well as adult education centers. Obviously, beyond the bell activities and child care services will also be suspended. Considering the level of poverty and despair in our community, we are not only professionally but also morally responsible for providing some degree of sustenance, as we often do. Therefore, we are activating 8 different centers for the distribution of food through a grab-and-go process for students of Los Angeles Unified. That will begin early tomorrow morning. For information about school closures and the location of the grab-and-go locations, please visit www.lausd.org. You will also find resources of support for our workforce and our students. Tomorrow, we will be pivoting 100% of our students to a continuity of learning model with virtual resources available for all of them. Sometime around 4 p.m. tomorrow, we will make a decision after consultation with leaders, as well as a careful examination of the trends as we observe them about what Friday will be like. I want to close by once again thanking our parents for their resilience, our workforce for their courage, and the remarkable men and women of this community who are working as first responders in very, very difficult circumstances. I will add that, unfortunately, the unthinkable has happened. We've lost two schools, elementary schools providing educational services to over 700 students in the Palisades area have been completely destroyed. We're talking about Marquez Elementary and Palisades Elementary. 30% of Palisades High Charter School was destroyed. We were on site and could not believe what we were witnessing. We are prepared to relocate those students to provide a continuation of their educational services and restore normalcy to those families and those communities. Unas palabras en español. Me siento muy agradecido al liderazgo de nuestra alcaldesa, la señora Bass, y al liderazgo de la ciudad de Los Ángeles en nuestro condado. Hemos observado condiciones muy difíciles en nuestra comunidad y debido a estas condiciones sin precedente en nuestra ciudad, hemos decidido cerrar todos nuestros planteles escolares mañana. Mañana por las 4 de la tarde vamos a decidir lo que vamos a hacer para el día siguiente, viernes. Quiero agradecer a nuestra fuerza laboral, a nuestros maestros, nuestros directores de escuela, nuestro personal de apoyo y también a las personas, los bomberos, los policías y el liderazgo de nuestra comunidad por el nivel de colaboración en apoyo a nuestro sistema escolar. Estamos preparados para abrir 8 centros de distribución de comidas gratis para nuestros estudiantes, empezando mañana. Una vez más, quiero agradecer a los esfuerzos de nuestra comunidad durante una crisis sin precedente aquí en Los Ángeles. Thank you very much.
Okay, everyone. I was just informed that we have another brush fire that has just broken out in the Hollywood Hills near Rustic Canyon. I missed that. Yes. I'll start over. So I just want to announce very, very quickly that we have a new brush fire that has just broken out within the last 5 minutes in the Hollywood Hills near Runyon Canyon. I don't have a lot of information. I can tell you we're throwing all of our available resources at it as we speak. I am seeing active water drops as we speak. As we have more information, we'll disseminate this to all of you. But I'm going to go ahead and excuse myself so we can go ahead and start to strategize and move towards mitigating this additional major emergency in the city. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chief, very much for that information and for your cooperation. And I just have to say that Los Angeles, as a region, as a county, as a city, we will get through this. We will stay together. We will be strong. We will make it through these next several days, and then we will begin the recovery period. And let me just say that the reason I'm so confident in that is, one, because of my faith in Angelenos, period, but also because of the leadership that is here. You see every level of government working together, as you have on several occasions over the last couple of years. And I just remember 2 years ago when we were here for a first ever weather event in Los Angeles, a potential hurricane. And I think we all understand in our city that due to climate change, we're going to continue to see very unusual weather events. And this is a historic event considering the strength of the winds. I also want to acknowledge that we're joined here by the head of the firefighter union, United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, Freddie Escobar. Thank you, and please give our regards to the men and women of the firefighters who have kept us safe and who have saved lives. I will open it up for questions now. Oh, by the way, let me acknowledge, too, that we have a number of members who are general managers of various departments, should you have a specific question.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Question about the water supply issue. I know this is unprecedented in so many ways, and right now there's a lot of raw emotions about
Right.
what's happened. But for residents who are angry and even perhaps blaming the city for not having enough water supply, I'm curious what your response to that would be.
Sure. Well, let me make a comment, but then I would also invite up our general manager from the DWP. So, as I just mentioned, you know, this is an absolutely unprecedented event. It has been many, many years since we've faced this strong winds. So the water pressure dropped as a result of the massive need to fight this unprecedented incident. Water remains available in the Palisades through hydrants, but also through water tankers that have been deployed. Claims that the tanks weren't full are false. On Monday evening, all available water tanks were filled before the fire. DWP is standing by to refill those tanks immediately when it's possible. DWP and LAFD are both managing water resources together from the command center. And just let me say that when you have events like this, as you mentioned, where emotions are high, I mean, so many people have been affected. Our families, our friends have been affected, and it's easy to get caught up in information that is not accurate, which is the reason why we do press conferences exactly like this, because we want people to have accurate information. And I think most of us know that the internet is not always the best place to get accurate information. But with that, let me call on our general manager who could give you more specific information.
Thank you, Mayor. And I will second your comments. We did fill all 3 tanks. There were 3 million gallons of water available when this fire started. As I mentioned in the morning, we saw 4 times the demands of water that we've ever seen in the system. We opened every valve available to push as much water into the Palisades area. This fire was different and unprecedented because they didn't have air resources to fight it. So you're fighting a wildfire with a fire hydrant system. Fire hydrants are not made to fight multiple houses, hundreds of houses at a time. They're made to fight 1 or 2 houses when they come in. And so we were trying, for us, for DWP, our first priority was to get water to the fire department for life safety. And that was what we were trying to do. To this day, we're still continuing working very closely with Metropolitan Water Department to try to make connections into their system and bring water pressure up so that we can fill the tanks. But in order for me to fill the tanks, I had to ask the fire department to stop fighting the fire. And that's a very tough operational decision to make. And so the fire department and DWP, we worked together on creating tactical operations in the process to make sure that they had enough water to continue fighting the fire. We were able to bring water with water tankers until we can get this engineering solution in play. We tried 3 contingency plans and all failed because we were also in very hazardous conditions where our crews had to be evacuated because the fire was so active around our area. But we have not given up, and we expect to have a solution very soon to make sure that we have water in those tanks and keep pushing water into the higher elevations. I also want to mention there's about 1,000 hydrants in that Palisades area. About 20% of those were without water. So less than 200 hydrants were without water. The rest we were supplying water to. So it's just a very challenging environment. But our goal continues to make sure that we are supporting the firefighting efforts and at the same time keeping the power on in those areas so that our water pumps are functioning and that we're able to fight the fires in other areas of the region because, as you know, it's not just Palisades that's burning.
Let me just, could you hold on 1 second? Let me just acknowledge Council President Marquise Harris Dawson and Council Member Imelda Padilla. Also, 80% fire hydrants with water. If you want accurate information, notify la.org. Dave?
In addition to the concerns about water pressure, there have also been criticisms from Rick Caruso, who said there was insufficient brush clearance by the city and county, from others who pointed out that the fire department
Well, let me just say that we are actively fighting this fire, and this is a time for vigilance and action, not speculation. This is a time for Angelenos to come together, united, to protect themselves and their families, and also each other. So what we are seeing is the result of 8 months of negligible rain and winds that have not been seen in LA in at least 14 years. It's a deadly combination, and I've been in constant contact with our fire commanders on the ground and our partners at every level of government. I've spoken to President Biden's chief of staff, Secretary Mayorkas from Homeland Security, Secretary Todman from Housing and Urban Development, Senator Padilla, Governor Newsom. This is going to be an effort of all of us coming together, and we have to resist any effort to pull us apart. In terms of my flight home, I was on a military flight, as I mentioned, which allowed me to be in constant communication. I was on the phone, on the plane, almost every hour of the flight. So although I was not physically here, I was in contact with many of the individuals that are standing here throughout the entire time. When my flight landed, immediately went to the fire zone and saw what happened in Pacific Palisades. Thank you.
Did you also have access when you were on your commercial flight?
I did have access on my commercial flight, like most people do.
In terms of the chaos from the Pacific Palisades Fire, the evacuation, obviously it spread really quickly. Was there anything else that led to cars, people having to abandon their cars?
Oh, I should take that up. Who should do that since the chief left? Do you know? Okay.
As far as plans for something like that, you hope that you can get up there. These are narrow roads in many cases, and the reality is you hope that people will pull to the side. People panic. Some people stop in the middle of the roadway, not allowing people behind them to get by. There's pressure to evacuate. Some people then left their car, and it could have been disabled. It could have been a situation where they were disoriented or panicked, and they left, and everybody behind them is stuck behind them. They also then feel the pressure of the fire and want to leave, and all of a sudden you have a whole street blocked, as we saw in this case, with vehicles. The fire department went in there, assessed it, and did what they had to do by moving those vehicles to be able to get fire apparatus to the emergency.
Was assessing the impacts of last year's decision to reduce the budget. She wrote a memo 4 weeks ago.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
She wrote a memo 4 weeks ago that said the reduction has severely limited the LAFD's capacity to prepare for, train for, and respond to large-scale emergencies like wildfires. And specifically as to the helicopters, without this funding, pilot compliance and readiness are jeopardized and aerial firefighting capabilities are diminished. And that sounds kind of alarming, because how concerned are you that her assessment has affected what's played out in the city in the last day?
Well, I am confident that it did not. I will call up a representative from the fire department to address that. But I will also say that within this fiscal year, LAFD actually would go above what was allocated on July 1st. Did you want to make a comment?
So, good evening, Jacob Robbie, PIO, LAFD. So when we discussed, as the fire chief discussed earlier, this is an absolutely unprecedented event. We have, we have another fire that just broke out. Any fire department, even our size, is stressed thin, which is why we call in our mutual aid partners, our additional resources. Of course, we can always use more resources, which is why we ask for more resources, because we always want to be the most prepared we possibly can to get ready for the next fire, because we don't know what these winds are going to do. This is something that we have not seen. In my 16 years in LAFD and 5 years in another fire department, I've never seen winds that made it to the Pacific Ocean, turned around, and went back up the canyon. So this is not something that any fire department can be prepared for, and we always want to have more resources, and we're always going to ask the mayor for more resources for that.
Do you know that in the last 6 months since this fiscal year began, has there been training that wasn't done, preparations that weren't made because there wasn't money?
You know, I'm not going to be able to speak on the fire chief on that aspect of it, so I'm going to defer to Chief Crowley on that. Okay.
Can I ask Chief Maroney or Sheriff Luna about the 5 deaths? Do we know anything about where these people were found? What were the circumstances around those deaths? Any other details you can share?
I can tell you that they were found in the impacted area, specifically what caused it, and the specific details. Our goal is to find out. As I stand here before you, I don't know yet. We did dispatch homicide detectives out there just to make sure that everything is done appropriately. And at the right time, we'll forward all of you the information that we get. At the end of the day, it's absolutely tragic.